Hello everyone, I am Anushka Narula from Team UACIT and today we have Lisa Chandra with us. Lisa is currently pursuing computer science and engineering from Indira Gandhi Delhi Technical University for Women. Lisa is a Google Women Tech Maker Scholar 2020. And today we are going to talk about the application process, how Lisa prepared for her application, and how did things work for her so that a lot of you who are applying this year gain some insights and be successful. So, before we start, I would like to tell you something really important. So, the name of this scholarship program has changed this year. So, now it is called the Generation Google Scholarship. So, everything like the application process, the stages, everything remains the same, only the name has changed. So, all those who are applying, please don't get confused while applying for this program. If I talk about the selection process, so there are broadly three stages. The first one, which is an online application, the second one, which is an online test, and the third one, which is an interview. So let's talk about all these stages and how Lisa prepared and appeared for all these things. So, Lisa, here's the first question to you. How did you ace the application process?
So, in the application process, you basically have two, three essay questions, and you have to upload your resume. So, as far as in my turn, the resume does not hold that much of a weightage. Like, it doesn't matter that much. Most of what your selection is going to be based on is your answers to the essay questions. And a lot of times, the essay questions, the first essay question is usually always, what is it that you're so passionate about when it comes to computers? Now, this question is that one question that they ask every year. Otherwise, the rest of the other questions, they usually mix it up every year. It's not really the same thing, but most of it revolves around your projects. So, for the passionate thing, you have to basically talk about what you like. So, for me, I do web development. So, a lot of what I wrote was why I love web development, because it's a changing field and it keeps coming up with new things. So you just have to present it in a nice way, in a crisp manner. You're not supposed to rant. There's like a 400 word limit. There was at my time, and that's usually a hard limit because they have to filter out applicants, right? So it's better to not go overboard. Try to every sentence that's in your answer should be important. And then the next question is usually about your project or if you've done any community work. We had an option between these two, and I would say if you have had some experience with community work, go for that because that gives you a lot of advantage. Because this scholarship was basically for women who want to help improve the situation for other women. So if you have, organized events and participated or, taught other people, it would be a really good thing if you talked about that and why you want to, spread awareness about STEM fields, etc. So in my answer, I remember at the time in my second year, I'd organized this open source event where I taught people about the basics and beginnings of Git and stuff. So that's what I wrote about. So that would give you a lot of advantage. So basically, the initial process is just your essays where you talk about yourself and whether you've helped out the community. And if you have good projects, you can talk about the impact it created.
Okay, so like it's something like whatever you have done, and if it's related to something that is
Yeah.
asked for, so do write it and yeah, make sure it's within that word limit. Okay, so moving ahead, the second stage, which was an online test. So Lisa, what was the pattern of the test and how did you prepare for it?
Okay, so the test is basically MCQs. We weren't given a lot of information about it. We didn't even know there was going to be a test initially. So it's like, I don't think there was any negative marking. You have four sections, I think. There's a basic logical reasoning kind of questions, and then there's hardware kind of questions. And the exam for us was for half an hour, and the questions are designed in a way that you have way too many questions, and it's practically impossible to be able to do all these questions in 30 minutes. So I think it's kind of testing your limits. Like you should be able to tell which questions you want to attempt, which questions you would be able to answer. So, do a little bit of elimination. Don't go to questions that are going to take a lot of time, because we had questions where you can't use, obviously, run the code. We had questions where you would have really long loops to be able to tell the answers, and you don't have that much time. You can't put 10 minutes into iterating a question to find the answer. So basically, nitpick which ones would make sense to solve. Don't miss out questions that are factual, because that is the one that you can answer in the least amount of time, and make sure you get it right. Most of it, because this is for first and second years, for the second year especially, you won't have tough questions, because those would be things that you've already done for 2 years basically. So I think you just have to go there with an open mind, know that you cannot solve every question. Do not get stuck on one question, especially if it's taking a lot of time, because it's not worth it. Just go to another one. Try to solve as many as you can, but do not go with the mindset that you have to solve everything and start. Sometimes when we don't have that much time, we leave out the 5 minutes to fill out the rest of the answers randomly, because you have to put in something, right? But I would say it doesn't matter how many questions you answer. I think what matters is based on how many attempted, how many were right. So don't run after answering everything. I think that's the biggest advice I could give. Just do what you can and do the questions that you know are right. That's it.
So, like you're saying that the most of the questions which were there, so you had done them as a part of your curriculum at some point of time.
And I like 30 questions, I think. And out of that, I did 18. That's not a very good number. But that's what I'm saying. Don't do everything. Just do whatever you can.
Like focus more on what
Yeah.
you're good at and what you're able to attempt at that point of time. Okay, so like the people who perform well in the test and who have written their essays in a good way, so they are shortlisted for the interview round. So, Lisa, what type of questions were asked in the interview?
Okay, so for the interview, it depends a lot on who's going to be interviewing you, because we didn't have, I used to think we'll have like a given set of questions that they have to ask us from. Like you would, have a consistent theme with each applicant, but that's not exactly what happened. A lot of people had questions about their projects. I had more technical side stuff, and for me, a lot of mine was based on my social beliefs and what I would want to do to help people. So for my interview, they want to know that you know how to work in a team, that you understand the importance of working in a team, that you know how to solve problems when it arises between a lot of people working together. So those are some things that they will always be looking out for. So I got asked questions like what I would do to improve the situation that is in our country, especially for women in STEM, because as you know, the ratio is quite a lot. So, what are your thoughts on it? What are some things that are possible to do that you would want to help? I also got a very wild question. My interviewer asked me if I had all the money in the world, what would I do with it? And that, I think that's a very, it's probably a very personality, HR type question. You have to answer it in a way that reflects good on you. I initially, when I had gone for the interview, I had a doubt whether I am supposed to give answers based on just my personal needs and wants and ambitions, or if it has to be for the betterment of the society, because there are two versions of every question. And I would suggest to always go for the betterment of society. They're not here to just know about your ambitions. They're here to know what changes you want to make to the world. And that's where the society comes in, right? And you focus on that. So usually the people who take the interview, they're from Google itself, and based on what they do over there, that's how the questions are going to be. So the person who took my interview was someone who worked with the community, who worked for people that people who discriminated against to more open more opportunities. That's why my questions were focused a lot more on the community and what I would do for women or underrepresented communities. But if you had someone who worked on the technical side, like who was on the technical team, then they would ask you a lot more about the technicalities of your project. Why did you use whatever library did you used? Why wouldn't you do this? So it's like you have to be very thorough with your resume because you don't know who's going to be the one taking your interview. You have to have some basic layouts for what your answers are going to be when it comes to society based questions. You should know it's because these questions can't really change a lot. You must have thought about what you would want to do to improve the situation, and it's better if it's original, if it actually comes out of you, if you're passionate about the way you're answering, what you're answering. So some questions you have to practice beforehand and go through your resume, know your projects very well, know the ins and outs very well, and that should be it.
So it's like you should know what your aims are, what you want to do, what you're doing, and why do you really want that. So when
Yeah.
these things you'll be able to answer most of the questions in a good way. So like Lisa, you have already covered a lot of points, but here's the last
So
question to you. What is the piece of
yeah.
advice that you would like to give to students who are applying this year?
I think for one, don't be disheartened if you don't get selected because I know there's a limit that it's just first and second years now, but then there are a lot more opportunities, and the main goal of this scholarship is to get people who would want to bring to the community something. Like you have to return to the community what you've gained from them, and and since that's the goal, if you want to help people, whether you get the scholarship, whether you don't, it doesn't matter. You would be able to do that anyway. Another thing, if you want to get selected, whichever year you are in, it matters a lot that you do community work. For example, if you're in your first year, good if you join a society that organizes a lot of events where you teach people about new upcoming technologies. It's good if you work with, say, children, if you teach children a lot about computers. It's good if you've held workshops at schools, basically all this stuff where you've taught people things. That counts a lot. So I would say it's very important for you to have done some amount of community work before you apply because they actually really look at it. It's one of the biggest advantages you could have over other applicants. So do that. With your essays, make sure it's very, very crisp. Everything that you write should be important. Don't write stuff that you don't need. That's very important because the limit is very less and you have to give a it's like your words are very less, but you have to show the maximum you can. You just have 400 words, and that 400 word is going to define your application. So do not take that lightly. Write everything you can and write it in the shortest way possible. That's a hard thing to do. You would need to do a lot of drafting. You will have to edit your essay answers a lot, but don't get too tired of it. We've all done that. So do that. Don't get tired of it basically. With the test, I think you don't have to worry a lot about the test because a lot of it would be things that you already know. They aren't really that tough. You have to enter the test with a really calm mind. Do not panic about what's being asked. Just take it lightly. It's not that tough. You would not know a lot of answers, but the point is that you don't have to know a lot of answers. It's fine. Then for the interview, again, for the interview, it's better if you prepare for it first. Do not just go there and hope that you will be able to wing it through and make it, because if they ask you questions like what will you do with all the money in the world, the first thing that's going to come in your mind is not really isn't going to be the best answer you can give. So these are things that you have to think beforehand, have actual thought processes, make notes somewhere, make write value points or something so that you know that when they ask something like this, you have to talk about these problems, because a lot of times when you write there in the moment, you forget things. You forget the problems that you would want to address because you're talking about a lot of stuff. So make sure that you have written this down, have a good introduction prepared. If you have extracurricular stuff that you've done even that adds a lot to your personality. So don't forget to add that.
These were great tips, and thank you so much. So with this, we have come to an end, and we'd like to wish good luck to all the students who are applying. And thank you so much for your time, Lisa. And thank you,
Yeah,
everyone.
you're welcome.